You left. You cried. You told your friends it was over for real this time. You deleted the photos. You started feeling like yourself again. And then one night, one weak, stupid night, you texted them. And just like that, you were back. Not because anything changed, not because the problems disappeared. You went back knowing it would end the same way. And it did. Nobody goes back to their ex because the relationship was good. They go back because their brain has done something to them. Something invisible, something automatic that makes the worst relationship in their past feel safer than the empty space in front of them. And this isn't weakness, it's neuroscience. There are 5 specific mechanisms inside your brain that fire every time you feel the pull to go back. And not one of them has anything to do with love. This video will show you exactly what they are, why willpower alone will never beat them, and how to finally break a cycle that most people repeat for years without ever understanding why. Let's start with the first one because it's the most deceptive. You don't actually miss your ex. You miss the version of your ex that your brain has edited together. After a breakup, something strange happens to your memory. It's called fading affect bias, and it's one of the most consistent findings in psychology. Over time, negative memories lose their emotional charge faster than positive ones. The fights fade. The disappointment fades. The reasons you left, they get blurry. But the good moments, those stay sharp. The first kiss, the inside jokes, that one night where everything felt perfect. Your brain is literally editing a highlight reel, cutting the bad scenes, keeping the golden ones, and then playing it on a loop when you're lonely. So when you think you miss them, you don't. You miss a version of them that never fully existed. A composite your brain stitched together from the best 5% of the relationship, stripped of context. And here's what makes this cruel. The lonelier you are, the more aggressively your brain edits. Studies show that people experiencing high levels of loneliness after a breakup recall significantly more positive memories about their ex, and significantly fewer negative ones than people with stronger social support. Your brain isn't remembering the relationship. It's recruiting the relationship as a cure for how you feel right now. And that's not memory. That's manipulation by your own mind. But the memory trick is only the first layer. The second mechanism is chemical, and it's the reason going back feels less like a choice and more like a reflex. When you're in a relationship, your brain builds a dependency on your partner, the way it builds a dependency on any consistent source of comfort. Oxytocin, dopamine, serotonin. These chemicals don't just make you feel in love. They regulate your mood, your sleep, your sense of safety. Your partner literally becomes part of your brain's emotional infrastructure. When the relationship ends, that infrastructure collapses overnight, and your nervous system goes into withdrawal. Not metaphorical withdrawal, actual measurable neurological withdrawal. Same brain regions, same chemical disruption, same desperate craving to get the source back. And here's the part nobody talks about. The craving is strongest not when you think about the best times, but when you're in pain right now. A bad day at work, a lonely Sunday, a moment where you feel invisible. That's when the pull is the hardest because your brain doesn't want them back. It wants the chemical relief they used to provide. Going back to your ex after one of these moments feels like coming home. The anxiety drops. The loneliness lifts. You feel safe again for about 48 hours. And then the same problems that drove you apart start surfacing, and the cycle restarts. But you don't remember this during the craving. You only remember the relief. And that's exactly how every addiction works. Now here's the third mechanism, and most people have never heard of it, but it might be the biggest reason you keep going back. In psychology, there's a principle called the Zeigarnik Effect. It was discovered almost 100 years ago, and it says this: the human brain remembers unfinished tasks far more intensely than completed ones. An open loop bothers us. A story without an ending haunts us. We are wired to seek closure, even when closure doesn't exist. And a breakup, especially a messy one, is the ultimate open loop. You didn't get the apology, or you got the apology but it didn't feel real. The last conversation ended in a fight, not a resolution. There were things left unsaid, questions left unanswered, and your brain can't file it away because the story doesn't have a clean ending. So what does it do? It pulls you back. Not because the relationship was good, but because it was incomplete. Your brain isn't chasing love. It's chasing a resolution that it was never given. And here's the trap. Going back doesn't provide that resolution. Because the thing you're looking for, the clean, satisfying closure, almost never comes from the person who hurt you. You go back expecting a final chapter. What you get is a rerun of the same episode. Every time you return, you're hoping this will be the version that finally makes sense. It never is. And the cycle adds another loop, because now there's more unfinished business than before. The open loop doesn't close by going back. It closes when you stop needing an ending that someone else has to write for you. The fourth mechanism, and honestly, it might be the most important one, because it explains why some people go back once and others go back 5, 6, 7 times. Here's the question. When you think about who you are, your daily routine, your future plans, your sense of self, how much of it was built around your ex? Because here's what research shows. The longer and more serious the relationship, the more your identity merges with your partner's. Psychologists call this self-concept overlap. Your goals become shared goals. Your friend groups merge. Your weekends revolve around their schedule. Even the way you describe yourself starts including them, we instead of I. And when that relationship ends, it's not just a breakup, it's an identity crisis. Because huge parts of your self-concept are now missing. The future you imagined? Gone. The person you were building it with? Gone. Even simple things, where you eat on Fridays, what you watch before bed, who you call first with good news, all of it had them woven into it. Going back to your ex isn't just about missing them, it's about missing yourself. The version of you that existed inside that relationship. Because rebuilding a new identity from scratch feels overwhelming. Going back feels like picking up where you left off. It's not love pulling you, it's gravity. The pull of an identity that you haven't replaced yet. And this is why the people who successfully stop going back are always the ones who invest in building a new life, not a new relationship. New routines, new spaces, new answers to the question, what do I do on a Saturday? Once your identity has something else to anchor to, the pull weakens. Not because you stopped caring, but because you stopped needing them to know who you are. The fifth and final mechanism, and it's the lie your brain tells you every single time you consider going back. They've changed. Maybe they said it directly. Maybe you interpreted something, a softer text, a vulnerable moment, a social media post that seemed like growth, and your brain grabbed onto it. Because the idea that they've changed solves everything. It means you can go back and it'll be different this time. But here's what decades of personality research actually shows. Meaningful behavioral change in adults takes consistent effort over a long period of time, typically months to years, usually with professional support. It doesn't happen in the 3 weeks since you broke up. It doesn't happen because they miss you. And this is the key distinction most people miss. Missing you and changing for you are two completely different things. A person can genuinely miss you, can genuinely feel the loss, can genuinely want you back, and still be exactly the same person who caused the problems in the first place. Those two things coexist all the time. The pain of losing someone is not the same as the work of becoming someone better. And confusing the two is the single most common reason people walk back into the same situation and expect different results. If someone has truly changed, you won't need to decode it from a text message. You won't need to look for clues. Genuine change is obvious, consistent, and doesn't require your return to sustain itself. If the change only exists in the context of winning you back, it's not change. It's strategy. So, where does all of this leave you? If you're watching this and you've already gone back more than once, I'm not going to tell you that you're broken. You're not. Every single mechanism I just described, the memory editing, the chemical withdrawal, the open loops, the identity gap, the hope that they've changed, every one of those is a normal human response. You're not weak for falling into this pattern. You're human. But understanding the pattern is the difference between repeating it and ending it. So here's the question I want you to sit with. Not answer right now, just sit with. Am I going back because something has genuinely changed? Or am I going back because the discomfort of building a new life is harder than the familiarity of an old one? Because that's what it usually comes down to. Not love, not destiny, familiarity versus growth. And growth is supposed to feel uncomfortable. That's how you know it's working. The version of your life where you keep going back, you already know how that story ends. You've read it multiple times. The version where you don't, that's the one you haven't written yet. And it starts the moment you stop letting a highlight reel and a chemical craving make your decisions for you.